Happy to be here. So we're going to talk about student-led conferences and Seesaw. And again, I am a science and integrated technology senior team lead at College View Elementary. It's my 6th year there in the Southwest. And I'm going to be talking about what it looks like to have conferences and Seesaw. So first I'll talk about kind of a vision of what does student-led conferences actually mean. What are the roles and responsibilities of a teacher, a family or adult, and then also the student. What a protocol, organizing it in Google Meet, what might that look like? I have a student example from one of the parents and 3rd graders at my school, so I'll share that. How Seesaw can support this work, and then questions at the end. So thank you so much for being here. The vision of student-led conferences, I have been doing student-led conferences this is my 6th year, and it is student-driven. This is a conversation. It's focusing on establishing the connections with the students and their families. This is going to look different this year virtually. I've been in person for 2 weeks now, and so I have seen parents, and that has helped with building those connections. But again, all of our meetings will be virtual. So what will this foundation look like? And we're already in October. And so we think about maybe where we might be last year in October with our parents. What might that look like? And this year it's different, and that's okay. So this opportunity to have student-led conferences is a way to continue to build those relationships and share what is going well in remote learning, what is their student even doing in Seesaw, how are they reflecting. Students will set goals with their family members, and we'll also be sharing student work in Seesaw. And that's an amazing thing that all schools and DPS now have. We can show our work exactly on the screen with parents. We don't have to use actual paper copies and take a picture of that. It's all in Seesaw. So in a student-led conference, the students and the stakeholders, everybody has a role. Everybody is going to come with something in their mind so that they can support. This is not just the teacher talking and leading everything. It's more the teacher as a facilitator. So the student ahead of time, it's important to reflect. I know that it's really busy and that we are doing so much right now with our students, and it's hard to think about how am I going to connect with a one-on-one. It might be a small group thing that you pull in Google Meet, and we're talking about goal setting today. They're going to reflect on what do they want to get better at. And we do this in kindergarten through 5th grade at College View. This is also applicable to middle school and high school. So students are going to be leading the conversation. The teacher is going to also reflect on their work, their skills, their strengths, and they're getting that data from our LMS Seesaw. And for high school students, it would be Schoology. So they're going to support the student, the teacher, during the conference with some guiding questions. I'll show you an example of what might that look like, but it's important to give our students and our families an opportunity to share and what's going well. It's a pandemic right now. It's really stressful. And I think having this parent-teacher check-in time is really important for the work. And we're going into our 2nd trimester. And we're going back in person for K-5. So there's a lot of new things going on, and it can support that work. Parents, if they have any questions, that's where you can mention that this would be a really good time to discuss what they need. Maybe they need some more support with Seesaw. What does it look like in the school? How should I be supporting them at home? So just thinking about possible questions that you might get. And then thinking about the student's role. Why is their work proficient? What are they doing well? And what do they want to share with their parents so that they can really take ownership of their learning? So this is what a protocol might look like. First, we have the students introduce the conference, and this can be guided with the teacher. Hello, welcome, and just set up what is the purpose of this meeting. This purpose is really to share our work and to share our learning that we've been doing since August in Seesaw. It's about sharing those goals and looking at the data. So this might be for many iStation data. It might be any reading assessments that you've done, any math assessments. And so this is a time when you will look forward into the future, maybe in person. What is that student's goal? What do they really need to look for when they're at home? Because I will tell you, 2 weeks in, you start to see different behaviors than what there was at home. And you're going to notice that some of your virtual students too, it's still going to be different because they have some barriers to focusing all of the time at home. So there's a lot of time in this portion of a protocol to focus on what do we want to get better at. Then it would be a time to look at student work. So I would choose something from math, literacy, a content area. This is when, if you want to invite other teachers, maybe it would be a specials teacher, a platoon. If you platoon, you might have both teachers there. It's sort of up to you of who you want the stakeholders to be and what work you want to showcase. And then at the end, it would be a time for the adult parent, family member to ask those questions, so that the majority of the time, it's the student leading this work. It's the student talking about their goals, and the family can kind of chime in and support at that point. So this is an example of what a goal setting template might look like. I will share this template right now that I've created for our school. And first, we're thinking about a learning goal. At College View, we have character strengths, so we always do a character goal as well. You might have a personal goal, anything that you feel would best support the student moving forward. This is totally student-driven. You may have to give some examples for students. So I taught second grade for 5 years, and I usually kind of looked at the standards that we were working on. And when I met with students in a small group, I would say, okay, this right now we are working on addition and subtraction within 100. Is this something that you want to keep working on? Or what are those standards in math that you see students may want to continue improving in? You will also base these in what you're seeing in Seesaw. When you're looking into the skills and standards, what are those students really thriving in, and what might they need some more support around? And coming up with 1 or 2 concrete ways that they can reach that goal. So I just picked a 3rd grade standard of multiplying and dividing within 100, and that those students were going to use pictures or ask for help. And then a character strength goal, we have one of our character strengths is self-control. And I know many of you have seen in Seesaw that it is hard for all students to always complete all their assignments in Seesaw. So that may be a goal for a student. It may look very different depending on your grade level, your focus, but it should be with the student that you are creating this goal. Also, data is going to look a little different. It's been very hard to do assessments at this point when we have all been at home remotely that are actually accurate and reflect students' learning. This may be something that you think about data. You may work on that next trimester. We have been taking iStation, and so we could have, this is something that I used actually on, we used to have physical learning portfolios. So I just copied the graphic that I had used that students would fill out each month of their iStation data. We also use the American Reading Company levels. So that is what that reading level means in third grade. They are in the white level. So this could even be recorded. The students could record their voice and say, I am in tier 3 in September and October in iStation, or etc. They may even do a video. It depends on what you want students to be using the tools and what is also developmentally appropriate. So now I'm going to show you an example with a third grade student at College View. She is going to be talking about her goals. We didn't talk about data. We also talked about her work samples.
We are going to start your conference now, and we're going to talk about what you've been learning. Yeah?
Okay.
So we've already signed in. All right. Now we're going to share your learning and character strength goal.
My goal is to try to spell words correctly.
Great. And you're going to do that by spelling those tricky words, right?
Yeah.
And what is a character strength goal that you have?
Use integrity to focus on listening, lessons, working in a quiet place, moving when I get distracted.
Yes. And you're doing so well at school. I know we've been talking to all of your teachers, and you're just so awesome at making friends and asking for when you need help. I know that's something you're working on. And you've also have such an awesome vocabulary, and I know you're working really hard. Is there anything else you're proud of this year?
I'm proud of that I've been reading more, and like me and my mom have been like playing games and stuff
That's
like
awesome.
that.
That's awesome. And these goals will help you.
Yeah. Yes.
We were talking about Ruby Bridges last week in class, and we were retelling the key events of the story of Ruby Bridges, right? So what was the lesson that you learned from the story about Ruby Bridges?
Is that she was a different color, so the people didn't want her in the other color school.
So she was a Black student, and she was trying to go into a white school, right?
Yeah.
And you said that the lesson that you learned is to be brave and stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
So how did you see that in the story?
Is how she didn't like always go like that or like cry in like the class. She just like focused, and like every day she would come like with a big bow in her, like a big white bow in her hair, and she was always very happy and like always like smiling. So that's how I knew that she was like standing up for herself.
You're already identifying the lesson, and we're just working on putting that evidence, right, into your response. That's your next step, right? But you are doing such a good job explaining after the lesson. When we come back together as a group, you are able to tell your answers. And so we're really proud of all the work you're doing. Is there anything else you want to share with your mom about something you're proud about or a goal you have in literacy?
A goal that I have in literacy, Mom, is that when I need help, sometimes I go into like a small group and sometimes she helps me. I mean, like all the time, but not like tells you the answers. No, nothing like that. But like she helps me. And I'm talking about Miss L. We like do like little small groups, and like she helps me with a lot of stuff. And when I need help with spelling something, like she always helps me. So my goal is to continue to go to small groups.
Yeah, we'll keep working in small groups and adding to your responses. But I'm so proud that we could share that with your mom today, right?
Right.
So let's look back at our conferences list. We were able to share our goal. We shared our reading level, and we shared our student work today.
Mm-hmm.
So we were able to complete our conference today, right?
Yeah.
So what do you want to tell your mom to end this conference and thank her for coming?
Thank you for coming.
So that is what it could look like in Google Meet. So I would have put the time for the student's parent. They knew when to sign in to my classroom's Google Meet, and I shared my screen so that we could go through it together. That was a little bit more guided than maybe the goal exemplar would be. This was the first time that we were doing it. Was trying her best, and she came up with those goals all by herself. I didn't have time to prep with her before and practice. So that was something that she felt comfortable with because she had done it in second grade too. So even though she'd done it in person before, this was a virtual space. And afterward, after I stopped recording, the mom and I were talking, and she said, I'm really happy that I could see the work because I look at it on the family app, but I don't always pay attention to it. So it was great to learn about the book that they were reading. And I think it can be really powerful to students to actually have time to share what they're learning with their parents. So this is the kind of a seesaw protocol example that I've shared in the chat, and what it could look like. It's editable. I think that you could change it depending on your grade level. I think fifth graders, we've had them actually have a script and they kind of lead everything. It could look different depending on the student too.